long-range stun. That is what guarantees the kill.
I don't know why Wonder didn't flash until it was way too late to make things happen. And by the time Jankos gets knocked into this tower, there's so many minions arriving. The rest of H2k are there. I mean, brilliant play by H2k. It seems Splyce were caught sleeping.
Let's see now. Baron is not even alive, and there's super minions in the mid lane.
This is not a usual territory for League of Legends for either of these teams, I would say.
We had our finals, G2 Misfits. 20 minutes, 0 kills. Back and forth, just slowly making sure it's all about the fancy rotations and the vision and whatever. This game, last game as well, fight, 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 fight all the time. And the funny thing is, most of the fights are actually like good fights to take, at least for one team. It's not just random fights happening.
They're well set up. They are getting the vision as well. It's just they're not playing the gentleman's game. They decide to get their hands dirty a little bit, and now you can see things starting to get even more bloody. H2k. 4th tower up in the top, that's the one they've managed to finally polish off, and we're nearing that 20-minute mark.
And also both teams kind of predicting what the other team is going to do, and then they're trying to react accordingly. And like, either it's cross-mapping, so you trade top lane tower for bottom lane tower, or it's like, no, we can just fight you. This pretty fat Trundle, as we mentioned, who will win the side lane, is currently bullying out the Renekton.
Well, H2k might end up winning this one, but Odoamne is definitely going to have a bad game. That seems to be fate right now. However, the rest of H2k aren't so fussed. A lot of damage on this top turret. When you have a Tristana, demolishing them is pretty easy effort, especially on 2 items.
And let's remember, while Odoamne died to that first blood, and he's not doing a lot in his side lane, he's joined the teamfights twice and been super impactful twice. He went top lane, no, sorry, 3 times. Infernal Drake, big TP into the back line. Went top lane to secure another fight with more kills. And then the one we saw just in mid lane, giving a tower. Let's see what happens here.
Oh, they want to make another play. Hero's entrance coming in, trying for the Tristana, and the tower was gone down before it even began. There's the shutdown. Kabi getting the finishing blow. The rest of H2k trying for the retreat path. Meanwhile, the top laners still locked in epic combat with each other. And Baron's on the rift right now. It's a man advantage for Splyce. Let's see if they dare to try it. There's super minions in the mid. They can't afford to leave home.
No, so early in the game as well, with only Xayah really dealing damage against the Baron. It's just not enough. Wonder was not there to help them. Good CC chain, Pyro. Do you see that on Pyro? On Pyro, yeah, on you, Pyro, you're in there. On,
yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what happens
on Nuclear.
I'm usually in those situations, but
just getting locked down and didn't even get to use flash and just died straight away.
But despite the fact that that he went down there, they threw everything at him. Nuclear's actually had a pretty solid game this time around. He was pushed back in the laning phase, but he picked up a couple of crucial kills. He's been really key to demolishing these towers because the front line keeps protecting him.
Very important though that it's Corby getting the kill on the side of Splyce, because we mentioned there's one main damage dealer here, that is the Xayah. I think we can add another one, especially with the build one that's going for, and say that
true.
The Trundle damage will be pretty serious, but in a late game fight, you need to rely on your AD carry, and that is Corby in this game. He picked up this 2nd kill here, 2 items for him. He's so important for Splyce in the game we're watching, and him getting a shutdown on a fairly fed Tristana, it's one of those things that can really help Splyce back in the game.
Yeah, and he's going to be having an even better time trying to chase down stragglers once that Blade of the Rim King's all finished up, and oh boy. H2k still get themselves another Air Drake, so even more movement speed out of combat. They've been having the run of the dragons this time around. Of course, Baron, not the easiest thing to take so early in the game, but with the base broken open, Splyce, they have to keep their attention on the mid for the time being, still holding onto their side lanes as they do it, but you always have to respect the collapse and flank. The last time H2k fought in the mid lane with all their members, it was Splyce that bit the dust.
And it's a really good Baron comp from H2k as well. They got a tank in Sejuani with a lot of armor who can tank it. They have Cassiopeia for their insane single target DPS, even a 3-item, soon 3-item Tristana. So with the vision control they've already lined up by pushing top and mid, as soon as they go out of vision, Splyce are calling Dick and Baron right now. We need to react. We have to move in and try and stop them, and it forces Splyce to always play catch-up here.
Yeah, H2k know they have the tempo advantage. It's dangerous to try and face check in there, especially alone, because out of the brushes comes the entirety of the H2k squad. Glacial Prison dodged out by Trashy. 1 key ultimate burned, and look where Wonder is on the side lane.
Exactly. Once again, he's in the side lane, meaning right now Odoamne needs to just commit to the Baron, and he's doing it, trying to force the TP from the Trundle.
Trey trying to block out. H2k, they've peeled off right here. They want to take the fight instead, and look, they've managed to catch out Mickey. Shredding through his health bar, however, at the same time, the Trundle is still wailing away at the base, but this is going to be a hard take. Trashy, no way he can break through that line to try and steal.
Splyce is trying to buy time here for the Trundle to kill that inhibitor.
Knock the barrel in. Okay, headbutt away. Not going to be able to stop this Baron buff. However, they do trade on an inhib. H2k. Let's see if they say worth.
Well, very clear here that Splyce were not looking to actually try and engage onto H2k. They were just kind of hovering around, making sure Wonder had enough time to trade Baron for bot lane inhib. Of course, you will always take the Baron in a game like this because now H2k can actually push down to the base of Splyce. There's only one outer turret left, kill that one, and suddenly you're looking at all the inhibs.
Yeah, talk about all the trades. I mean, this is a game where we had a sub 20-minute inhibitor taken by H2k when they had no other towers except in the mid lane. Down bot, Splyce have been able to do the same thing here with the Baron going over at the same time. Man, and you know, they're playing exactly to what they need to protect some of these carries. Knight's Vow on both sides. Jankos did this last game, of course, but now Trashy's in the mix as well.
I mean, it's been a really, really fun series so far. Game 1 delivered, Game 2 delivering as well. Great, you know, calls from behind from H2k, and a fantastic game plan from Splyce early on when they were getting those early kills. Like, it looked so smooth. There's like, okay, they got it. Everything is in the back. Wonder, though, on this trundle, after Trashy helped him level 2 and level 3, 2 fully completed items, massive CS advantage, will just dominate the side lane. And if he can continue getting more towers for his team, he's going to continue giving them more gold, and then they will get to 3-4 items and can start fighting with Xayah.
Yeah. But is it going to be fast enough? That's the thing. At the same time, Nuclear is pretty much soloing out that bottom tier 2, looking to march down with this Baron buff on everybody. And they might need Wonder to start TPing in to try and take the fight. He's busy with Odoamne up on the top side, taking tower shots. Meanwhile,
he's trying to kill him.
Down to half the health. Let's see if he can do it. Thunder tower! He's not able to get away, but back to the main fight. Down in the bottom, H2k finish off that tower.
Odoamne can TP into the fight as well.
He's going to start right now. He's already back to base to get himself nice and healthy. Splyce find themselves with 4 members. Crucially losing out on that trundle. That is inhibitor number 1 taken out and right back to the scene of the original crime. It's going to be the next to fall in the mid. H2k flexing their muscles, looking to try and put themselves up 2-0 in this gauntlet match.
2 inhibs for them now. Jankos getting out of the base as well. Only lost that bot lane inhib. They'll be even out. Top lane is where we're looking. There was no way for them to go and take another tower, seeing as they were already fighting under that tower, but Odoamne winning that 1v1. Super, super important for him. But the fact he actually TP'd in was maybe not really necessary, because there was always the threat of him TPing to join a fight. So Splyce would not have really contested when H2k were pushing in. So now you actually find yourself in a situation where there's no teleport on your top laner. Might end up hurting them. But right now he doesn't care. He just won this big fight. On the tower, all the minions gone. Wonder he's trying to get out of the tower range by chasing him, and then Odoamne with a quick turnaround into a nice stun. Like, he bought a lot of time waiting for cooldowns, waiting for the stun to be ready again. Great one-on-one, and rest of H2k don't care. They just want to push for more.
Yeah, still got 30 seconds ticking on the Baron buff, so right back to the last tower, still standing inside the base, and a massive recombo. Let's see if they've got the damage. Bobby trying to dish it out. What a huge knockoff, but Febvin in the back line, pumping out that damage. Machine gun Cassiopeia, but Wonder finds 2 kills. The front line is melting. Senkok's on the front. It's going to be a double to Odoamne. This is total and utter bloodbath in this top lane. Down goes the cow. And Febvin is going to slither away to tell the tale, but the only man standing from the H2k side, Splyce holding the line.
We just got the full wombo combo from Splyce's side. So much CC landing. Nuclear again is the man that Mickey finds in the start of the fight. And this Tristana doesn't even get a chance to flash away. It's just knock-up after knock-up after knock-up, and then you will die. Let's see it again, let's see it again. It all starts with Mickey. You see the Galio sitting in base. Look at Nuclear and Tristana. He gets charmed, then he gets knocked up, then he gets knocked back, then he gets knocked up, then he gets knocked up again. And now he's dead. I think he was spamming his flash, and at no point could he have actually flashed away.
Yeah, you spend all your time airborne, not much you can do. And Febvin, the only one who lives, he's the only one who didn't get hit by that CC train. And Che in the end just kind of keeps the front line alive, and Febvin's going to end it off. I mean, incredible positioning from the H2k mid laner, but Splyce, what a wombo of a team fight.
And Cobby was just sitting there dealing so much damage in the back. This is exactly what they want to do with the comp. Another fight, Pirate, get ready.
Jankos on the front. There is a pillar he's knocked right into, and let's see if they get it once more. Featherstorm coming out for Cobby, pulling him right back in, but Odoamne is already polished off. Mickey X, Nuclear leaping forward, flashing, looking for a kill. That's one reset. See if you can get more on the back of this one. Jankos trying to chase them down. Splyce scattered to the winds without their top, without their support, without 2 of their inhibitors. They're hanging by a thread.
Yeah, this time Splyce did not manage to lock down the 2 carries on the side out of H2k, and suddenly there was enough damage in return to kill the front line of Splyce. That last tower is still standing there laughing at them, but they will take it down.
Yeah, pretty easy peasy at this point. Hard to defend when you're down so many members. The last inhibitor there for the taking. Marching the minions into 3 lanes. If Kabi can only get a shutdown, that might turn their fortunes around, but it's desperation time for Splyce. You do not want to be 0-2 to open up the regional qualifier, but it's starting to look that way.
Probably looking concerned as ever in these games, realizing how close it is despite H2k, winning a game 2. Now they got 3 inhibs. I wanna make the bold prediction and say now they're looking like the big favorites in this game. But
the safe lead.
I will say up until the point they killed that last inhib, it really still felt like Splyce had ways back in the game. And of course they still technically do. It's just so hard with these inhibs all down. Let's see the fight this time around. Notice how they engage from Splyce. They're actually not able to get onto Febi or Nuclear. Great ulti from the Cassiopeia, and you see the 2 carries split up in the fight. And if you can't wombo combo down one of them, well then they will kill your front line. H2k, they're getting ready for the 3rd game. Almost full screen of Prolly.
Yeah, we wanted to see more of the concern. But I think for the time being, this will be pretty happy. At the end, Trashy steals back his own blue. A big gold lead for H2k. They picked up another Infernal Dragon for even more damage. And now it's just going to be try and march down the mid lane. Minions in the top, minions in the bottom. Wonder trying to hold those ones at bay, but we're 30 minutes in here. It's looking like the end game soon.
And we have QSS for Nuclear now. So when he gets charmed, he can try and QSS and jump out. He's no flash though, so it might be difficult for him to do, because if you QSS the first charm, there's a high chance you still get hit by the knock-up. Following from any of the 3-4 knockups on the side of Splyce.
Oh, we saw a combo.
Oh, then we saw a combo.
Just for a second, turning back in. Wonder goes for the hero's entrance. They get 2 root with Zaya and Rakan on the back line looking for Chain. Yanko's there holding it all, and Wonder looking for Nuclear. Bobbed back, but do they have the damage? He dodges out the ultimate from Yanko's, and they might have enough left in the tank. Those feathers are running out anytime soon. Wonder gets the finishing blow on Nuclear. H2k, they're the ones heading for the hills as Senkuk's trying to hold on. But look at those super minions. They're going to demolish one tower, looking for 2. Splyce got to get back home and defend.
Through the bold prediction, Splyce winning another fight, staying alive in this game with 2 inhibs just respawn Pyra.
It was bold, that's what I'm saying.
That's true. If they can win another fight now, then suddenly Baron is alive. That's going to be the big objective. H2k had 3 lanes with double super minions, but that's gone now. Only 1 Nexus turret died, and another fight was won in favor of Splyce. No flash from Nuclear in the following team fight. H2k only 3 members. They're around the Baron to see if Splyce is starting it, but they can't do anything.
Yeah, and Hib's back up in 2 lanes though for Splyce right now, so they might have a bit more breathing room.
Have a lot more breathing room.
They are all in on this engaged Officio. The righteous glory for Mickey X. He has been so critical, but he can't get caught now. Oh, dashing over.
All right, so no QSS, no flash from Nuclear in the next fight here. If Mickey can get onto him, they can chain CC and kill the Tristana. Wonder found a really good flank in that last team fight. Let's see if we can do that again. It is difficult though, there's no deep wards he can TP onto.
Just in the Baron pit, now it looks like H2k don't want to give him the opportunity to fight. Trashy stop, there's a CC train on the H2k side, and it's Odo Wamne with the finisher. Kabi goes up, Featherstorm pulls him back, doesn't get the root. Yanko's on the front, and it looks like Wonder's trying to get desperately into the fight, but it might be too little. It might be too late. Odo Wamne going forward, but he doesn't find the kill off onto Kabi. That inhibitor is theirs for the taking, however.
Got a few minutes as well if they want to go for more. Towers down to 50% HP. Secure the bot lane in him first. 25 seconds soon to be here on Trashy before he's alive.
Kabi's coming back up. There's the pillar, the hop away from Nuclear. They're going to get in, get out, exactly what they needed. And now they might be able to take this Baron with a little less congestion.
Well, Trashy will be alive. It's going to be a full reset. We're going to get Elder Drake soon. We have Baron already up. We will need another fight, but H2k secured double super minions. Again, with only 1 Nexus turret, that is something you really need to respect. Trashy, once he gets knocked up and then stunned after, Miasma comes down and there's no way out.
Yeah, the H2k go button is real powerful. Nice ult from Kabi though. He would have been a dead man for sure.
It's very important to highlight how it's Splyce who needs to engage to actually get onto H2k's backline and kill them. H2k can kite back. They can just let Tristana and Cassiopeia shoot whatever's in front of them.
Yep, now shoot whatever in front of them. It's going to be the Baron. Pretty easy to take that one out with all the damage they're packing. So H2k before Splyce can really even muster up an opposition force. is going to be Baron picked up with 2 Dragons, the Infernal variety, 2 the Cloud variety, and no inhibitors up for Splyce. 1 Nexus turret. These guys are holding on to the edge of the cliff.
Mickey needs a few more seconds on his flash for the ultimate engage onto Nuclear or Febiven. There's no flash from Febiven's Cassiopeia. That should be the target for Splyce.
Okay, they want to go in to start things off a little bit early. They look for Jankos, look for Che, but they don't have Nuclear, they don't have Febiven. Do they have enough damage? That's a lot of taunts, and Senkox is going to have to back out. The Cassiopeia ultimate locks up Mickey for just a second, doesn't die. Che goes in to try and finish him off. Nuclear around the side. This one is oh so close. They're being chased away. Can they do it with Stupers and Baron buff inside their base? Justice punch forward for Senkox. It's a shutdown. Nuclear grabs one, a double kill, cleaning up the Splyce boys. Can they do it? Wonder is the last man standing, and damn the Penta, damn the kill. They're gonna take the Nexus. Game 2 for H2k.
What a crazy game 2, man. Again, it looks so good for Splyce in the start, but H2k with some fantastic calls find their way back in the game. They get a big, big lead. And while Splyce tried so hard to defend towards the end,
like 5 times.
5 times at least. H2k just
lost track.
With all the inhibs, they managed to win that last fight anyway. They're 2-0 now, Pyra.
Yeah, that was absolute insanity. And very rarely did it feel like it was gonna be over for sure. There was always that hope that Splyce could execute the Wombo. But in the end of the day, they tried to hold out in the base, and they were overrun by the forces of H2k.
And they relied so much on Copy's damage in the late game, and he dealt a lot of it, like by far the most in the game. Sadly for him, when he's dealing with Tristana and Cassiopeia in terms of their damage against one tank, he will lose out. And the fights, they were close, they were very even. But with those inhibs down, and of course everything that happened before these last comeback fights, H2k got far enough ahead to just win enough fights to take the game. I'm not going to say all the fights.
And again, it was having multiple carries that were able to do it. Like we talked a lot about Febiven's positioning earlier on and Nuclear getting shut down. Nuclear really turned things up, and at the very end of it, staying safe, with or without the QSS, got to give the man some credit.
But we've learned now here in the Gauntlet that in Europe, at least if you're Splyce in H2k, it's not about fancy rotations. It's all about forcing fights on each other left and right.
Over and over again.
Over and over.
We're 2 games in, man. This is going to be incredible. All right, H2k, they are looking to try and close this one out in 3. So let's send it over to the analysts for more on game number 2.
Pyra at a loss for words. Well, have I ever? Well, it was very, very exciting and very frustrating for Splyce and very convincing from H2k. And it's just been a bit sad for Splyce, to be honest, because 2 games in a row now, they've done pretty well in the early game and then given it up. So we'd first like to highlight what they did do well in the early game again.
Right, exactly. When you look at the early game, the cast has talked a lot about this. Level 6 point with Zyra Khan, you set up this bot lane play, bring down Senkox, and it's all easy pickings down here as Nuclear and Che have no option on where to go here.
I think with the way I see Gallia right now, she has taken kind of Talia's place. Always Gallia is going to be pushing mid lane early on in the game, and Cassiopeia, I think Febiven is shouting, guys, just run away from bots, and they didn't, and the double kill came in for Splyce.
It did, and at this point, I'd like to pull up the gold graph of this game because Splyce was in a position where they were up about 3,000 gold before the 10-minute mark and managed to get their inhibitor pushed in by the 18-minute mark. Now, you coached Splyce, even in this exact tournament last year when they made it to Worlds, right? So what do you have to say to these guys? Because this is turning into a very frustrating turn of events when you get good drafts, a lot of preparation for this match, and 2 games in a row, you get caught with your pants down.
I think when it's, you know, in the end, I think League of Legends is such a delicate game that these small decisions matter. And I think at this point, the only thing you gotta tell your players is that you need to let go of what happened, because most of the times these situations that they were in this game that made them lose eventually were situations that are not going to happen again. They just need to let go of these thoughts and go into the next game with a new idea, because H2k had a very similar draft 2 games in a row. So they need to just switch it up, try something new, and come in with a fresh mind, hopefully.
And at least the way that H2k have come back into the game is similar in both games as well. We just saw trashy stats there. H2k have either picked off Trashy or prevented Trashy from getting objectives at really key points in the game. And the one we want to take a look at now is H2k at the fight they end up taking around Infernal Drake, because, again, it's Splyce for what seems to be a safe setup. Tefisio talked about this so much. Yamato, you looked at the breakdown on how the wave was pushed out before this. Like, was Splyce wrong to make this call?
I think they had the wave pushed in bottom, but the good thing what Fabiven did here, he took the aggressive position, was the first one that came towards the Infernal Drake. So he had a good angle, and of course, Splyce used so many ultimates to try to get onto him. We saw the Xayah ultimate, Galio used his abilities as well, and the Rakan combination as well. When these abilities are out of the picture, they don't have this strong teamfight presence. And on top of that, Trundle was the one that based second. So H2k saw this play coming, Renekton started to base, sacrificed the top lane wave for this, and what Splyce needed to do, accept the small gain of these waves, because H2k started moving very early on towards the Drake. They need to accept the fact that H2k is losing a wave in mid, a wave up top, a wave up bottom. This is a good victory as well, but they just overreached for the Drake. Renekton, of course, is going to do so much more than a Trundle in these teamfight situations. Has the CC, and a Trundle with the timer is going to just paddle people, but that doesn't make much of a difference in these
one
fights.
element of what you said there, the fact that H2k is just reading the moments better and the windows in which they have to engage is really what spelled out for me over these last two games. I want to take a look at the final team fight. As said, H2k was pushing the inhibitor pretty early on. We also have to highlight Nuclear in this game overall. He was a question mark for you, Stress.
Yes, coming into today, we said, hey, Nuclear needs to step up. We weren't particularly convinced.
It's not doing anything here yet, though.
The sequence of fire. We're waiting to see Nuclear have an effect later on in the game. This was the fight where they ended up getting a long-range catch down onto one. Here he comes, Nuclear into the fight, ends up getting the kill there. And as you said, he was a big question mark coming through, but the Tristana as a pick and the way Nuclear was playing out through this passage of the game, I think was a big confidence boost to the H2k bot lane. They didn't look like a liability in this series so far. Maybe the early laning phase, when you look at how Mickey and Cobby played, you can give to Splyce, but outside of that, as soon as the map opens up, I have no real problems with H2k's bot lane.
I think that's the beauty of like continuity. The fact that H2k just came off of a best of 5 over in Paris. They get to come into practice knowing what they need to change. It was very clear in the series against Fnatic that Nuclear was the problem. They solved that on blue side by banning Xayah, putting him on Varus and Ashe, and on red side not banning the Tristan and putting him on Comfort. And on top of that, I think it's very impressive that H2k have kind of dropped this idea that they only play around mid lane. I love to see that Jankos can gank into bottom. He can be very active on the top side as well. Odwane playing the champions where he can be very impactful on. So I really like all these adjustments that H2k have done. It's very clear that they came into this week's practice with a lot of good ideas in mind, and I think they've shown up big time here.
Well, I think that's absolutely crucial, and you could say, well, Splyce has seen all those matches, they can prepare, but there's one thing that you can't really do, and that is get warm and get into the zone. H2k practically just came back from Paris. They played a best of 5 until Fnatic. They kind of beat their own demons there, even though they didn't win that match. So they're just probably just more in the game and on the stage at this moment in time.
For sure. I think in a lot of cases, the main struggle a lot of teams run into is finding purpose in practice. And that usually comes off of the games you have off stage. And the last time when I was in Splyce and we did this gauntlet run, and that was also the time when we played the finals against G2, we had a lot of information to work with, and we had very targeted, specific practice. We came into practice with an idea, and that makes for useful practice. In a case where you have this huge downtime and you don't know exactly, like, sure, they had the series against G2, you can focus on that, and then eventually you reach a point where you kind of rinse and repeat.
I mean, not to call it out, also, they don't really have a coach on stage with them. The analyst is also no longer with them, so we don't know how much that's working to play and who's working with them. But Stress, you had Splyce as an outside candidate to run the gauntlet and take on Fnatic and possibly even win it. Do you still see that as realistic now?
I see it as very unlikely at this point now. Splyce, I think in the early game has looked like the Splyce that I wanted to see actually playing up to their ability, but they've made a couple of decisions that it's actually more on H2k for punishing them that is what is hurting them so far. And I think that was something that I didn't account for coming into today. However, Wonder has still looked like a threat. If somehow Camille gets through the draft, or maybe he gets an even better start to the game, they could look to get a game 3. But at the moment, it looks like H2k 3-0.
H2k, things are looking really, really good for them. They have a chance to sweep their way to the next round. We will be back for game 3 after the break.
Only one can go on to the next round to face off against the Unicorns, potentially face off against Fnatic. Oh, the charm is on, the quick step of an insta-cleanse. And Senkuk's not quite in the range, but they have the damage to finish him off anyways. Now Nuclear on the other side, but here comes the hero's entrance. Is it going to be enough? I don't think so.
European aggression, baby.
Welcome back to the LCS studio. H2k have stepped up so far against Splyce on H2-0 going into game number 3. And it has looked very close, but Deficio, do you think this is where we get a sweep?
I mean, whenever it's 2-0, you want to say yes, but I feel like the games have been so close that I can easily see a game 3 like swing the other way. Like game 1, Splyce were having some good moments, and H2k had some great moments. Game 2 was kind of the same deal, but once H2k made those really good calls in the early game after being down, and they got back into the game, I was like, damn, okay, H2k are looking super good. We have not seen this kind of H2k
the game
in the playoffs.
When they're ahead, but then it doesn't seem to happen so much when they're behind. This time, they've thrown that out the window.
They did, and it's not even about drafting anything. I think both teams are drafting comps that makes perfect sense to exactly what they're trying to do. Like, we mentioned this so many times in the last game. There was a lot of really strong picks on the side of H2k, but they gave away Zyra Khan and Galio to Splyce. A team was really good at playing Galio and snowball it, as we actually saw in the start of that game. So it's super, super close. I'm not calling it 3-0 just yet, but obviously their momentum and confidence is all in favor of H2k at the moment.
Yeah, and H2k back on blue side. Gonna ban away the Camille once more. Still respecting that pick for Wonder.
Should just ban the Galio as well, and I think they can also just ban the Zyra like they did in game 1. Take the same kind of situation where you first pick Sejuani. It's been a fantastic pick for Yankers so far, and I think if you're H2k, you're kind of looking for just a standard pick a man face now. The only thing you want to avoid is Splyce, you know, throwing around crazy picks. Sejuani ban is an adaptation though from Splyce.
Yeah, see if that is enough for them. Across 2 games, Jankos had a fantastic performance with the engages. Still a couple more bans to go before we get our first lock. It's 8 seconds on the H2k side.
We have this Tristana, Xayah, Rakan thing again. If H2k bans Xayah, they avoid that whole situation. That's what they're doing. Can just first pick Tristana now, which we fine, as we no longer want to see. And then we want to get a fade away. Oh, there players! Hey!
We were experiencing technical difficulties.
That was all on purpose, man.
Oh,
you gotta sell it, Pyra. Trying some new camera angles here in the LCS.
There you go.
Hope you guys liked it.
My bad there. Anyways, Alistair, he's off the board, so there's the Tristana up and available.
And Jarvan is also available. Now, I personally prefer the first pick Tristana and give Jarvan over, because I think Tristana is so good against Jarvan specifically. I want to see if H2k agrees. Rakan is also there. So if you're a Splyce, you should take the Jarvan, and I think you can just take the Rakan again if you want to, and you have flex pick Jarvan. The key thing is you need to flex Jarvan. You don't pick Jarvan plus a jungler, because then the enemy team goes Renekton and Jarvan gets destroyed. You gotta pick the Jarvan and flex it.
Jarvan starts off, we'll see if they deliver. I feel like you definitely gotta pick the Rakan. It's just so good for Mickey, but they're going for the Sivir.
All right, they want Sivir against Tristana, perfectly fine as well. Okay, potentially giving Che there, Rakan, because you gotta remember, Thresh is still open. So if Splyce had taken the Rakan right there, Thresh might have just been the login instantly on the side of H2k, and that would have been a very tough lane for Splyce to play. So I think it makes perfect sense taking the AD carry first. They can still take support next. Che's still to the way though.
All right, Rakan is locked.
Give me Mickey Thresh.
The Elise. Of course, that's a big Jankos early game champion.
Actually, what I would like from Mickey here, and I don't know if he even wants to play it, but I think Morgana makes perfect sense with Sivir against Rakan. Like, just Spell Shield, Black Shield is really hard to get onto the Sivir, and then in late game fights, Krabi is just a huge carry. We got to see a jungle pick from H2k. It will be the Gragas.
Take away from Trashy. Well, unless the Jarvan ends up being the choice.
Mickey wants to play the Thresh though. He wants to take this. He wants to try and see if he can bully out the Rakan. I think that's fine as well. And I think that's the reason he did not pick the Rakan on his side. Still think Morgana is valuable here also against Gragas. I'm just going to keep sliding it in there.
But I had a few games on it too. But
I understand.
Far and away, Thresh is much more of a comfortable pick from him. He likes to set up and make those plays, not sit in the back line and diving in
exactly
playing off the dark bindings.
I understand it perfectly for Mickey. Wants to see if he can outplay Che in the 1v1. Cassiopeia getting removed. February found a lot of success on the champion the last 2 games.
Yeah, so he'll have to find himself a different type of champion.
Syndra is still up, and Syndra has actually been the most successful mid laner in all the playoffs. No matter which team played it, they've found a lot of success with it, often playing around the mid lane.
Played a lot of games too.
H2k might be going for the blind pick Orianna now that Cassiopeia is gone, and they're banning LeBlanc, which is of course one of the picks against this Orianna here.
And something Senguk's made a name for himself on way back in the day when he first joined the European LCS. Not played it so much lately. H2k still waiting. Their final ban as Lucian was off the board for Splyce.
And Splyce needs to decide, do they want to show where the Jarvan is going in the first pick, or do they want to just grab a safe mid lane choice like Orianna? With LeBlanc banned, I think Splyce can just take the Orianna. For Senkooks, they can't take it anymore because it's banned.
I think H2k were thinking the same thing you were.
You might have to go Corki or Syndra then, and just say, show your mid, safe flex pick Jarvan, and that's what they're doing.
All right, back over balls in H2k support for final time in this pick and ban phase. Still waiting on that top laner and that mid.
Just give us Syndra for Fib event.
Makes sense. I mean, he loves playing that champion too.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got a blind pick your top. Rumble is available, so is Gnar. But picking Gnar blind is something where you always got to be a little bit careful when you're against Wonder up in a top lane. He's a man who plays a lot of different, weird, odd picks that could come out as this hidden champion. I call it hidden. There's a Kennen, which is a fairly known one. There's a Jace as well. Both picks work well against the Gnar. So Uranda knows if he's picking this one, he's probably going to get counterpicked. That's why, of course, he's going to go for Garen, which has no counters in the game.
Okay, Aha.
He's going to go Gnar.
Well, H2k, fill out the composition. You said this would be something a little more standard. So
Jace.
far, it looks the way it is.
Give us Jace.
Will we see the Jace?
Give me Jace, play around top side, try and snowball him. You have a safe mid lane and Corki. You have a fairly safe bot lane as well with the Sivir. Just do it, Splyce. Just give me that Jace. Yeah, Israel jungle, yada yada.
Oh, it's the cannon.
They go
Okay.
cannon. That's fine. Prefer the Jace, but I think seeing Wonder's cannon should be fun. Up in the top lane, it will most likely be AP cannon.
He's had one game of it.
Exactly. The AP cannon is what we see most of the time, where you still pick it because of strong laning phase and go Doran's Blade, and you try and just see if you can actually bully the Gnar a little bit, and then you become powerful in team fights. I think in this case here, he wanted a champion that was a bit stronger in team fights, which is why he went cannon over the Jace.
All right, well, that's definitely a win condition for Splyce, as it has been for both these teams in the entirety of the series. For H2K's side, you know, they're not shy of damage nor engage potential either. You've got a Gragas, you've got a Rakan. I wonder if Che can really match what Mickey X has been bringing, though, on that champion. We'll have to find out. But H2K, even if they lose this one, they're still in a comfortable position. It's match point. It will be match point for the rest of this series.
Yeah, it's true. But when you lose that third game after being up 2-0, a lot of the players are talking about, like, that's like the worst feeling ever.
Is it really? Is losing the second one after that worse?
No, but like, it's like you already start getting that feeling of, oh man, the comeback, it might happen actually. Like, they might win the next game as well, and then, oh my god, we're gonna get reverse swept.
That sounds like a real big reading into it. But I guess if it happens to players,
hey, no, this is just from talking to players and coaches.
Hey, that's like, fair enough, man. You don't want to lose one. You want to put it away. And how big would it be for a team that relies on momentum as much as H2K to sweep their way into the next round against the Unicorns of Love, trying to make up for the fact that they faltered yet again at the playoff stage? Will they be able to do it, or will the Splyce boys be able to sing a song of comeback? We'll find out as we load up onto Summoner's Rift for game number 3 here in the European Regional Qualifiers.
Of course, important that Corki can run teleport in the mid lane, guaranteeing an even safer lane for Senkooks. Needs to always respect their Cinder stun into a Gragas gank, but we are looking at top lane once again, because Wonder is sitting with his cannon up against the Gnar from Odoamne. It is the lane that Splyce needs to be able to win with this Gnar, or with this cannon.
Well, Odoamne getting a little bit of help of Miankos to bodyguard him around for just a moment, but it's still a line of scrimmage. Nobody's going to go for any trick plays in the level 1. We've had enough action across the series without that.
We always had to wait a few levels before we got all the action.
Yeah, but once we did have it, oh boy, the fun never ended.
We get Thunderlord's cannon with AP runes starting Doran's shield in this case here, but it is AP cannon coming in from Wonder's side.
Of course, you know, fans that might have not tuned in for a while used to see the AP cannon back in the day, a couple of years in fact, and everyone remembers the big Smebolt at Worlds. Not quite as powerful as it used to be.
Yeah, the fact that you ulti just when you actually use it does not have the same burst as it used to. You kind of ruined that kind of setup. At least we haven't seen it yet. I actually think AP cannon top, and I'm just going to check this in 2 seconds, but I'm fairly sure it's been one of the least successful top lane picks around the world.
You got to take all the reckless 80 carry cannons out of that one.
Of course, and that's the thing. But
well, you go ahead and hit the books, and we'll get this game on the way. Of course, the bottom lane, Mickey denied his Rakan pick this time around on another very comfortable champion on the Thresh, and I feel like trying to ban away Mickey is something a lot of teams did against Splyce in the regular season. And it always seemed like he had one more trick up his sleeve, but when he's on a comfortable pick, you see a whole nother side of this player, and he's just such an incredible playmaking support. And that's another win condition for Splyce. I mean, it's saved them so many times in this series. Yeah, it's not been enough to get a game, but they've just been able to do oh so much. And well, we might be in for an early gank to Fisio. Trashy coming down on level 2.
ooh, let's see what he can do. Thresh is always an easy target. Che might have tried and force something from Copy as well, but look at Mickey now going forward.
Okay, here we go. Flag and drag. Going back, flayed.
I don't know why I called Thresh the easy target when I, in fact, meant the Rakan.
Well, he would be an easy target.
He would have been. It's true. The statement was correct.
Yeah.
Technically correct.
I got your back. I got your back.
I like it. Sadly, actually, just to change the whole thing, because in my brain, because I was over here looking at the other screen, I'm like, oh, it's probably the Thresh getting ganked. No, it was Splyce trying to gank here, meaning that you can't really kill anything. There's a jump on one guy. Actually, there's a jump on both guys. Nice hook, though.
Oh, good. Boomerang Blade. Gonna catch on a couple. Nuclear already chunked out a little low, and Mickey X is the one who's taking the trade back. 5 CS advantage so far for Kabi. It's pretty easy to equalize. I want to see when the junglers start heading up towards the top side. Well, of course, checking on Kabi's performance the last game, because he was the primary and pretty much the only damage dealer in that game, and he really made it count, just wasn't enough to lead his team to victory.
Trashy's trying again. This time I'm gonna get it right.
Okay, flash, jump, oh, and he waves. But there's a hook on to Che.
But
That was a little weird.
I find it very interesting that Trashy are investing so much time against the lane with double jumps. Ganking Rakan is super difficult because, again, ton of mobility. Nuclear as well, unless you can actually completely flash play this Tristana and then hook her in her jump. It is very difficult to actually kill this lane.
Yeah, and for Splyce's side, up at the top, they might be in danger of getting ganked as well. Wonder under his tower, but Jankos is not too far away on this Gragas.
Exactly, and luckily here for Splyce, Wonder is safe. So while Trashy did not get any kills, he did get a bit of a CS advantage for Kabi in the bottom lane, which is of course worth something as well.
Sure, but that's a lot of investment to try and get that, and Mickey's burned both of his summoners. He has been really quick on the draw to try and make these plays. You know, I've been praising Mickey, and we've been talking about his, you know, his ability to start fights off, but it seems like he's jumping the gun a little bit.
I mean,
Maybe with the help of Trashy.
When the call is, you know, go for this gank here, of course, Mickey's going to try and invest everything to make it work. Here's the play mid.
Oh boy, Jankos going in, looking for that first blood king once more. Senkuk's oh so low, and he's going to be able to walk away, not even using the flash. Trashy's here, though. He's going to have to flag and drag over that wall. A little too low on the health bar to really combat 1v2.
Senkuk's keeping it cool right there, but that was the setup we've seen before here in the EU LCS. The Syndra long-range stun into a body slam flash from a Gragas to try and secure a kill, but no summoners blown by Senkuk's. Flash down from Jankos, so he's going back into his jungle to farm. Splyce, while they invest a lot bottom side, they stay alive in mid.
Jankos still staying in mid.
Just want to push it out now. Just want to push out the lane. Syndra is fell low on mana.
Hook, once again, landing on the Tristana. Nuclear, it's a lot of damage on him, but it's not enough to really finish the job. The Lantern forward, let's see if he goes forward to take it. Yes, he does. Heal popped by Nuclear. That's the first time H2k has had to use a summoner down on the bottom side.
Let's remember, though, Mickey playing without summoners at the moment, so in case Jankos can show up on bottom side, it is a kill onto that Thresh. However, they did see Jankos sitting in mid, so they knew they were safe to go for the engage. Trashy's not been farming any of the big camps just yet.
Man, he just keeps landing these hooks time and again. There's no heal this time for Nuclear. Mickey on the front to knock up a hop for Nuclear. This time Trashy might be going all the way under the tower. The Krugs are going to follow him, it looks like. They can't do it, though. Too many minions at their backs.
Jankos on the way as well. Che will spot Trashy, force him to just step away from the camp.
So much focus on this bottom side.
But it's also now because Mickey's just landing so many hooks. Like, with the ganks and the hooks landing, they're trying to get a big CS lead for Kabi, but there's a big wave that Nuclear will pick up. Meanwhile, top lane.
Wonder. Okay, he thought he was out nice and safe. He's got to be careful here. As Odoamne back down to mid, he's going to be able to throw some boomerangs at his face.
So once again for Wonder here, picking it against the Gnar with the AP cannon. Your split pushing is not as effective, obviously. It's much more about joining your team and have these big AoE ultis in fights. And then it's all about Trashy actually engaging first. Trashy needs to go in with the Civil ulti, start the fight. Wonder needs to follow with his TP or flank or flash to get to that backline of H2k.
Now Mickey's coming into the mid, looking for Febiven insta-heal. Not going to wait to be hooked. But since there's been so much attention on the bottom side, it's such an even game in CS up top between the Gnar and the Kennen. Is this going to hurt Splyce for the time being, Deficio?
Not that much. I mean, it's not the end of the world by any means. Obviously, you want to have this Kennen winning his lane, so it's great that Odoamne is actually doing what he's doing, but when it is AP Kennen, it's less about stomp early game and more about actually just be really good in fights. Vedius joining in, currently highlighting that H2k have won every single game against Splyce in 2017. 8-0 before the series.
Two, though.
They definitely had to earn them. They're trying to make it 11-0. There was some good Twitter banter as well between Odoamne and Wonder before the game started.
Always is.
And Odoamne made it very clear he wanted to make it 11-0.
All right. This is the quietest game we've had of the series so far. No first blood, 7.5 minutes into the clock, and big CS advantage is really making up the big difference of the gold, which is not huge on the bottom side. Kabi. But of course, now Jankos hunting around. Wonder is actually backing in the second tier brush. It means that Odoamne and Jankos, they might get free time on this tower.
Yeah, they will definitely get at least all the minions to die under the tower and then get a full reset. Wonder has to go back and get his haunting guys, and knew there was also Syndra coming to top side. Look at his play here, Pyra. He's TPing to the bottom lane.
Ooh, Mickey, a rare miss on that hook, but In comes the Kennen. Now Che and Nuclear, they're going to have to request some backup. Teleport coming down for Odawamne as well. Will Splyce still commit to this dive?
Yeah, but all of H2k are already sitting in the bottom lane. I really think Wonder should have started walking back to lane, waited to see if he saw Odawamne TP to the lane, and then he could have made this play here. Trashy wasn't even in range to join instantly, and some of the calls from Splyce are feeling a little bit over-aggressive. Odawamne, of course, had to blow his TP, so technically they're just trading TPs against each other. But there's a big wave pushing against H2k on top side. That's a lot of minions getting denied now for the Kennen.
Yeah. Glad you mentioned that Splyce are kind of going a little bit ham in this very early game. I'm wondering if the fact that they are down 2-0 is not getting to them just a little bit. We've talked about the reverse side of it. You don't want to lose that third game and then all of your momentum evaporates. But for Splyce, it seems like they're trying to go more aggressive than maybe they need to.
But again, they're trying to just brute force this tower here. Wonder realizes the lane is pushing against him in the top lane, so he's just staying in the bottom lane right now, calling in Trashy as well. There was a package from Senkook's side to maybe join in as well. He's in engage.
Che, he gets a two-man knockback, I should say, as Jankos was the one throwing the party barrel out. It's first blood instantly for Nuclear. Kabi goes on the hunt all the way back to base, and now Senkook's, he's trying to run out of here and take the Valkyrie right over the wall. Febiven can't do much more to him than that, but Splyce's play backfiring. Let's see if they can get round number 2. Nuclear, no, he flashes away. Yanko's tagging his way in, flayed back by Mickey X. Let's see if they have the damage. There's the Jarvan Cataclysm on 3, but Trashy might be the one caught in the pit, and he doesn't want it. Exhaust burned as soon as it was right back up off cooldown, and they will go away empty-handed.
But look, top lane right now, Odawamne just picked up that massive wave. He's gonna push it into tower as well, so all the minions will die. Wonder is getting nothing. He's down in CS, down in experience. He all in for this bot lane play. And it ended up being H2k getting the first blood. Like, Splyce's call right there was just straight up bad. They did not have Trashy nearby to join in. They did not have Senkook's in position to join instantly. And they didn't even see Odawamne's teleport just yet. That was too easy for H2k to react to. And now it means that this Kennen is like 25 CS behind.
Yeah, and that's the critical part of this composition, to try and get themselves in these good team fight situations. Splyce has been able to do it from behind so many times in this series, but it feels like they're shooting themselves in the foot right now. And don't want to do that when Nuclear's the one with the big gun already facing at you.
Yeah, so first blood Tristana, advantage top lane for Gnar as well. Splyce has been trying to get bot lane ahead. They've been trying too much. Instead of maybe going and switch it up, play around topside a little bit with the Jarvan.
Yeah, that's what you said they needed to do very early on, but there's been no attention from the jungler, and even the top laner hasn't even been there half the time.
I mean, it can be a little bit difficult to gank for the Kennen against a ranged champion, but bot lane against the Tristana Rakan, like, it was really based on Mickey stopping Nuclear from jumping away, and when that didn't work, Trash ended up wasting a lot of time, and suddenly Splyce did not get anything in the early game, but they're down now, 500, 600, 700 gold. While it sucks to be Wonder for just a moment, it's not the end of the world. They can still definitely make some plays in this game here, but you guys see they're under pressure in the bottom lane, in the mid lane, in the top lane. So 3 lanes right now pushing for H2k.
Yeah, a little bit of gold lead. If they start knocking down towers too, it's going to keep on extending. And of course, H2k a free roam of this river. Let's see if Splyce can make the desperation play. Pulling in. Oh man, they're throwing everything down there. Flashes and dashes. Can they get Nuclear? Trashy hops on and puts him in the pit. He doesn't have the last auto attack. With the exhaust coming down, they might settle for Che, but Jankos turns around, and he's going to be the first to fall. Jankos gets one. Febiven flanking in the back. Doesn't have enough damage to finish anyone else off, but all the same, they're going to pull back Jankos with the hook. Do they have the damage for an equalizing kill? They do. But it's a 1-for-1 that was hard-earned by Splyce.
And once again, they're trying to force the bottom lane, and this time they did get to interrupt Nuclear's jump. But then he got full stacks with the little bomb here on Trashy, so he can actually jump again. That's why he stayed alive on the Tristana. Splyce, though, getting more damage on the turret, trying to see if they can force them back. Nice hook.
Oh, they know that follow-up damage. Oh, flashing forward. Senkooks, that was oh so close. But let's see Nuclear. Oh, he's got one! Can't quite get the other. The bouncing boomerang, as it were, doesn't get enough damage. Febiven's going to get away, but Nuclear does fall, stepping a little too close to the sun there.
And Splyce getting another kill now in the bottom lane. I guess if you just keep trying and trying and trying, at some point you will finally get something back.
Yeah, beat your head against the tower, and it looks like they're going to get first tower blood after
It's working. Just keep running straight at the same wall. Che wants to interrupt it. Yanko's on the way, but this tower will die.
All right, last shot there. Che's out it. And yeah, H2k, they ended up matching the pressure and lost out in the end.
So, they actually had a ward to spot the Jarvan here, and they do everything trying to interrupt him, but Good play there on Nuclear. And then look, he gets 4 stacks with the little bomb here, so he actually gets another jump to get out. And it looks fine for H2k with the first kill. Obviously, February is stuck in a 1v2 situation. And now they're solo trying to defend this turret. Jankos, nice hook from Mickey again. Secures that kill. That's an important one because that's actually what allows Splyce to continue pushing.
Yeah. The sigh of relief for Splyce right now. All the investment they made,
man.
The time they spent down bot is finally paying off. And that last shot. But then, Kabi, I love this part here. Boom.
They needed those kills so badly, and if that one had bounced actually too.
I know, that's what I thought that was what was going to happen, and then it didn't, and I got really confused.
Well, Splyce are pushing on the top side, trying to get a bit more gold in their pockets. They're investing everything for this one. They're also starting Rift Held. I like this play from Trashy. Set up the Rift Held right after the tower goes down. All H2k can do is try and trade them for a Cloud Drake, and that kind of sucks, you know. You want the Rift Held and not the Cloud Drake.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not always the most optimal of trades, but with Splyce getting some tempo advantage.
Splyce don't even take the trade.
Yeah.
I mean, H2k.
But it's so strange, because it seemed like H2k were controlling this so well, and all of a sudden the tables are turning. The gold leads in Splyce's favor. They got 2 towers to 1. They got the Rift Herald.
I mean, the reason H2k didn't do it here is because they just don't value the Cloud Drake highly. They actually rather just have Jankos go back into his jungle and farm and February hold mid. Before that, though, obviously with Splyce getting that kill on Jankos, then getting that kill on Nuclear, getting that bot lane tower. So all the time spent bot lane suddenly were actually useful to get, you know, a bit of gold here. They're sitting with that 1k gold lead at the moment. It is the Cannon, though, who is, of course, behind.
Yeah, I guess they're not too worried about that for the time being. Instead, trying to focus on Kabi, trying to focus on maybe Senkooks. He does have a kill as well, and we know this Corki, he's going to not be too shy of damage later on in the game. Kabi's even holding on to this turret as Odoamne runs out of minions.
Splyce have gone all in on the Kabi win condition. Yeah. Feed the Sivir with everything you got. Just
yes.
Feed the Sivir.
The good old Sivir comp.
Get her ahead in this game here and then just play team fights with it. It's a pure team fighting comp they have with the AP Cannon. Trinity Force completed for Senkooks as well, and of course, a Corki in late game team fights, fantastic as well.
Okay. Ooh, stopped by Nuclear to avoid that thresh hook from Mickey X, but he's got no tower. He's got to walk it out the long way. Febvin finds an uncontested mid tower with Odoamne, so they'll be able to do that. A lot of Splyce boys up top side. Let's see if Senkooks can push him back on the minions. That's a lot of damage with that Trinity Force.
So there's a very low top lane tower and a fairly low mid lane tower. Splyce are trying to defend. H2k, of course, actually need to kill them to get the full amount of gold. So at the moment, Splyce are keeping the gold lead in their favor. Leandry's now completed for the Cannon as well. Important item and
Gerald summon.
Looked like a potential fight.
Yeah. That sound always thought maybe it'd be a quick kill, but instead everyone from H2k backed away. The Rift Herald's primed up, goes charging in. Let's see if they have the damage. Che gets a 2-man charm. Nuclear tags his way in as the teleport comes a little bit later than maybe Splyce wanted it. It's canceled in the end. Kabi's having to run back as Odoamne with the big Gnar lands onto one only, and it's Senkooks who bites the dust. 3-2 now is the total kill score, but they go too far forward. Wonder gets the finishing blow onto Che. With the hop away, Nuclear thought he was safe, but it was Jankos got caught on the line instead. However, H2k, they've got the minion line congoing through. Try and finish off this tower with Nuclear. They should be able to do it, but Trashy, Mickey, Wonder all threatening right here. Do they have the damage?
Gotta keep in mind, Wonder's ulti is ready, and Flash as well.
Might just be able to do it. Trashy getting pulled back away from Febvin. No unleashed power available for him. Looks like finally they'll get it. Odoamne steps forward. Is he fighting it too far forward? It's going to be the Tristana locked up. There's the Wonder ultimate we were looking for. Do they have the damage to follow through? Wonder is even going to make it out alive. How about that for a ninja? But Febvin fires back on Mickey. Teleport coming in. Senkooks is off the cooldown. It's double kill over to Febby, but he's gonna fall. Jankos trying to run for his life, and now it's Wonder throwing out those shurikens. Jankos might just be able to walk away as Che comes through, but Splyce can't help but feeling they won that fight.
Well, it was Splyce setting up first with the Rift Held, and then H2k engages and overchase twice during this little exchange we saw here. First, it was Che dying, and then after they killed that tower, they thought they could also kill Mickey. Ends up overchasing again.
That's that classic over-aggression from H2k, though. I mean, we've seen it so many times over so many iterations of this team. Sometimes they get the blood in their eyes, and then all of a sudden they think they're stronger than they are.
So here, Jankos is not able to follow in with Che. Also because there was a minion right in front of him, with TP getting challenged on, so that would have stopped his body slam if he just went straight forward. This is a good setup to get the first kill. Okay, everything is fine now. H2k just calling for the tower, except for Che for some reason. Calling for the absolutely insane all-in with no follow-up possible. So he dies, 4v4. They stay around the turret. We fast-forward it. And we keep feeling, okay, H2k at some point are going to overstep and Wonder's going to get a big ulti. It's Oramne, it's nuclear. Just take the tower and walk away.
And crucially, Kobbe didn't die in that very early engage where the Syndra ult was dumped on top of his head. He was like 10 health, and he's able to heal up enough of it through this to kind of stay alive. And yeah, he dies again, gives a double kill over to Febvin, but Senkux, here he is. Right back off the fountain.
I mean, there's so many kills traded back and forth there. Important to highlight the tower did die in favor of H2k, at least. But their tower obviously on the, you know, right after the fight just died because Senkux was still in lane with full HP. So Splyce win the fight, all in all. Did have to use the Rift Herald as well.
2,000 gold lead, 3 towers to 2. Now things settle a little bit. There was a lot of craziness in the mid lane for a while, and while I say settle, I am not going to be correct. Febvin, he's going to flash out the pit. The hook catches him on a line, but all of a sudden Jankos is there. Mickey's going to get the play back, and ooh, H2k, they brought more friends to this fight. Nuclear's coming up with that kill.
Ooh, yeah, I think Splyce got a bit surprised there that so many members of H2k were around. Oramne is fighting Senkux.
Oh wow, he's found Senkux here. That's going to be the Valkyrie, a little short range distance. Wonder he's going to tag his way in. A couple of shurikens, that's a stun. Rocket not going to land. Odo will make it out alive.
There's a very low top lane tower that H2k can now kill and get pretty close to Splyce in terms of the gold lead in this game here. Just like game 1, just like game 2, super back and forth. A little bit of over-chasing here and there, especially from H2k's side, but Splyce has pulled one of their own, and both teams are quick to punish.
Absolutely, that's been a hallmark of this series, is how fast the reactions have been, and it was such a weird early game, with Splyce so heavily committing down bottom. It seemed to work out, but at the end of the day, we thought we might see a standard game, and that is not the case.
These teams will never play a standard game against each other. Very clearly.
Yeah.
Splyce still trying to win that first game of the year against H2k. Off to a better start near the mid-game compared to what we saw.
Think that kind of thing weighs on their mind?
Not at all. I think if you even ask the players, they probably won't even realize. They're like, we just play against whatever team we're facing. It doesn't matter who it is, and we're doing our thing. And
turn off the name tags.
trust me, I don't think I don't think they're like, oh my god, we're 0-10, we can't beat these guys. They're more like, screw H2k, man, we can take them down easy.
Confidence, pretty good. Still yet to find that victory, though, in this series and in this year. If there is a time to do it, of course, every game has looked close. Every game has been close.
And that's why, again, I refuse to call it 3-0 before I see it right in front of me. It just feels like Splyce are just as likely as H2k to win this game here. Yeah. Look at the scaling on their side. You know, you got Corki, Sivir, fantastic late game carries. You got AP Kennen as well for the big team fight. Zoning, because like you gotta keep in mind the big zone that he will create with his ulti. It's important to keep the carries safe in the back. Baron is started now. Oramne needs to TP in if he wants to fight.
Okay, let's see if they turn for Jankos. Okay, Sivir ultimate on, but there's the barrel to knock them back. Mickey is going to throw down that box, but Che comes in. Wonder stun them. It looks like it's going to be Wonder falling first in this fight as Febvin comes up with the kill, and now Trashy's going down. A Dark Sphere, that's 2. Nuclear hopping forward, looking for more. Oh no, Splyce, they've run out of damage for the time being.
Wonder tried to hide in that little brush on the side, but he got spotted by Febvin. He got stunned, he got one shot almost. Right after that, great team fight from the Syndra. And suddenly, the big cannon ulti never actually happened. I don't think his flash was ready for the fight itself, but that's a big cooldown that you didn't get to use.
Big risk for Splyce, doesn't pay off, and now it's going to be another tower. H2k get number 4, the tier 2 in the mid. Not needing to look at Baron very early on in this game. They're playing it out a little smarter.
And Syndra continues to be such a powerful pick here in the EU LCS. Let's see this fight here. Look at how Wonder gets knocked into the brush, hides there, and then Febvin finds him. Multiple abilities, just hitting, stunning him, keeping him in place, and the flash was just a few seconds from being ready. Could have turned the entire fight. But they started that Baron before the flash was up, and they got punished for it.
Big time.
Nice ulti from Jankos as well to just split up the team.
Yeah, I mean, he's had such incredible engages with his team in this series, in this year, in fact, and such an incredible team fight setup that H2k have managed to come out with. Splyce, of course, matching them blow for blow, but it's an advantage here, H2k. It doesn't look huge in the gold game. It's only 1,000. Things can always turn around, but the execution is key.
Right, and that next fight, Wonder will sit with his flash ready. Febvin's flash is on cooldown now. Nucleus is up for a potential fight, but if you can flash onto a Syndra as an AP cannon, like Syndra is out of the fight. There's so little she can actually do, and Hourglass will also be a key thing for Wonder to get to stop the Syndra ulti from one-shotting him. And if he can get that, he's just a massive zoning tool for these AD carries, Kobe and Senkooks in the back.
Oh, Che, if he wants to go in, he does get a charm onto one. Mickey X doesn't land the play, a little too fast on that one, but now Splyce, they want to take this fight. Teleport now coming in, but it's way in the back line. They've hooked Jankos out, but Trashy, he's running out of health bars. In goes Wonder, but he can't quite get the stuns he wanted to. Kobe does pick up Che off the back half of that one, and the hook is going to Bull in Nuclear. Down he goes to Senkooks, and it looks like Splyce, they might just have a big fight, but there is a big Gnar who misses a big ultimate, and he's pulled right back in. Trying to hang tough here. 3v3 in the mid. Wonder's tapped out of this fight. He's going down to the bottom instead.
Another big fight in that mid lane. H2k looked to be the one starting it, and then Splyce turns it around. Mickey landing another key hook as well in the fight. We got the full flash engage from Wonder. Always got to keep in mind that a Tristana ulti can knock him away.
Yep. Let's see this one more time. It was really hit the go button, go all in, and Che, he wanted it to begin with, but Splyce turned it around.
Che missing the engage is pretty huge here. It means the Splyce can turn it, and while Fabian is on the side without his flash, as soon as Wonder gets in, he hits so many members of H2k, and it forces all of them to just focus him, and then this hook from Mickey is key onto Nuclear. When you get the carry as a Thresh, you can win the fight for your team, and flash away from Senkooks as well. Very close fight.
A lot of near misses too, and of course, had Trashy not gone down to the last shot of the explosive charge, that would have been a much cleaner one for Splyce.
For the next fight though, Wonder will only have his protocol to try and move forward to surprise a Tristana. If Nuclear is ready, he will just fire his ulti at the cannon who runs at him, shoot him away, and Wonder will not reach the backline as easily. That's going to be a key thing to follow between Nuclear and Wonder specifically.
Do Splyce have enough to basically soak up an ultimate prior to him coming in? It's hard to say, isn't it?
Do you mean like if H2k can survive the game?
Yeah. Or if Splyce rather can survive getting 4v5'd until Wonder comes into the fight after the Tristana ultimate spent.
There's a high chance they can, because again they're running double late game AD carries, and their main idea with Wonder is if he can't kill people, at least he forces them to focus him, so that Kobe and Senkooks can kill whoever's in the front line of H2k. Being it a Gnar, being it a Gragas, like that's again one of the key things about the cannon in this game here. But it's a hard game to succeed in with this AP cannon, because there's a Tristana on the other side, because there's a knockback as well from a Gragas. There's a lot of ways for H2k to deny Wonder the big ulti. And sure, I mean, it might be a concern. I just think if he's at least buying time for Kobe and Senkooks, they can still win fights.
Absolutely. But the ever-present threat of Fabibin in the mid lane, along with the rest of the team, that's deletion of one champion. Choose your choice, right? Unless Kobe manages to get a quick spell shield off, it seems like it's going to be difficult if H2k can find a pick, and they're definitely not shy of team fighting either. Still very, very, very close game. Only 1,000 gold to lead in favor of H2k, and there's a lot of wave clear on this Splyce side to try and keep things cleaned up. Trashy moving a little bit farther forward, daring to get a bit more vision. Hook comes out, Mickey X doesn't find it. It looks like the charm is on, and there's the damage. The power's unleashed. Trashy, he flags, he drags, he's gonna get away! And he flashes the Gatorade!
Jankos didn't want to use his ulti because he thought it was an easy kill onto Trashy, but then he stayed alive towards the end here. That could have been a kill on a jungler into a Baron being started. Instead, Trashy gets to go back to base and return out on the map and only loses his flash. That was huge.
Now you can see H2k not confident they can go for the Baron after that, of course, so it's going to be an easier Cloud Dragon take. That'll be the first Dragon of the game. Had some more impactful ones in this series so far, but H2k have to be disappointed with how that all shook out. Just not enough damage. Trashy, can't believe he stayed alive that long.
They didn't believe it either. They're like, this is a guaranteed kill. Nuclear getting caught.
Yeah, there's a knockback, and he evaporates. That changes things.
Mickey's just smurfing in this game here on Thresh. Like, he literally flies forward, flash flays, interrupts the jump from Nuclear, and if you don't flash that straight away as a Tristana, you're staying in place. That's a kill on the AD carry. That's Baron being started.
Oh no. Half down the Baron health. Mickey X holding in the front, gatekeeping away, so Jankos can't get it. Turned around one more time! And now it's Febvin caught inside the pit, gets a couple of stuns, but there's nothing else he can do but unleash the power as Kabi picks him up. Might be right back onto Baron for the Splyce boys. Che looking to come in. Meganar operational for Ottawamne. Jankos, you could get a miracle steal, but he would need an incredible move into that pit. Let's see if he can pull it off. They've got full vision of the Fat Man right around the backside of the pit. This one's still tense. In comes Ottawamne. Singles outside the back. The Baron's up for grabs. Can they get it? No, the fight is going to end before it all happens. Jankos gets the smite away, but there's no one but Nuclear to hold on.
But Trashy died during the engage. He couldn't smite the Baron then. H2k, while they lose the fight, at least they do not lose the Baron as well. Ottawamne's Meganar into the engage from Jankos and Che. Killed Trashy. Guaranteed the Baron smite from Jankos because everyone is in there dealing AoE damage, so the Baron would drop low enough. Let's see, this is after Mickey's made the play in mid. He then lands a hook onto Febvin, sets up another kill here for his team. And then what's really key is once we get the Baron start and H2k staying around it. Trashy is so low in there, and notice how the Meganar into the body slam kills Trashy. And with all the AoE damage, the Baron will always drop down, and Jankos, just before he dies, gets to smite it and actually steal it.
Oh, man. So H2k, you know, Ottawamne knew exactly what he needed to do to get into that pit and save the day. Jankos securing out the Baron at the end of it all. So at least Nuclear's got this. Tristana's not the worst champion to have it on either.
At least Splyce didn't get it. That is the key thing for H2k. If they're trying to stay ahead in the game here.
Well, the game just keeps on going. Trashy gets Febvin locked up in the pit. Jankos coming through the Night Scout. Unleash the power. He's going to stay alive through it all.
What?
Sankooks, half his health now down. Everyone just burning ultimates on cooldown this game. Oto's hopping forward. In comes Wonder. See if he gets the stun off. Meganar nearly there.
But what? Febvin just stayed alive there. There should have been a guaranteed kill for Splyce. There was no flash on him, and the great engage from Trashy was setting it up. Mickey not hitting anything this time, and that one Baron buff is now pushing in top lane.
Yeah, split push just on, and now I feel like I'm watching a Fnatic game. H2k moving with 3 members down towards the mid. Splyce backing away. It's 5-3 on towers. Can extend that gold lead just a little bit more, and Ottawamne looking to chase down. Splyce all of a sudden second-guessing themselves. Nuclear even picks up a red buff. All the carnage. A little Tristana just keeps on chugging.
And that was supposed to be an easy kill for Splyce against that Cinder here, but Febvin just stayed alive towards the end.
Yeah, that was we've seen so many of these close calls. That's the crazy
thing. It's happening, and you never know if someone stopped DPS because they thought he was already gone, or I didn't get to see if there was like a great peel from Che. I think he was in there trying to disrupt Splyce as well.
Yeah, this game is textbook example of why it's okay to KS sometimes.
That's true. Just use everything. Kill that one guy.
Just drop it.
Win the late game. It's so even.
Oh, yeah. No kidding.
Even Blue Buff does not die.
Okay, Febvin gets it. Yeah, this is just an absolutely insane game, and it's not going to show any signs of stopping. Trashy tanks a little damage. He's got a shield on, so it's not going to be quite so detrimental to him, but now it's become a 5v5 in the middle for the time being. But
they popped the Sivir ulti.
This one, Sivir on the hunt. Here we go.
There's no flash Febvin.
Flag and drag. Trashy looking for an opening. He takes a lot of damage off the back of it all. The hook only lands onto a Baron-empowered minion.
Yeah, Splyce was calling for the engage on the Syndra right there. Trashy needs to get in range with the Sivir ulti, get onto Febvin with his ulti, keeping in place, and then just destroy H2k in the fight, but he did not get in range.
Ottawamne's not there. The hook, it lands onto Che. They don't want to go. Trashy. Flag and drag back into his own base. Towers down in the bottom. Things are starting to fall apart here for Splyce. 2 games down, on the verge of getting swept.
It's still so close though. Like, it's only a few thousand gold. Splyce are definitely still in this game, and one big team fight with an AP cannon and suddenly you're winning the entire thing. This makes it a perfect game 3 here for our series of constant back and forth and never knowing who's actually winning until the next dies.
Yeah. You know, almost tempted to, to call it like, it's not always the cleanest league, just because you can't plan for this kind of stuff. This is pure chaos.
I mean, a lot of what's happening is that the teams are timing cooldowns really well. So when they know a certain carry is sitting without a flash, they look to force fights on that carry because they know there's a higher chance they're going to win the fight now. So that's why you see Splyce just randomly pop his Sivir ulti and try and rush at H2k because they knew, okay, Febvin, he's going to die, or he should die, due to no flash. And it's why we keep having these fights, because when one team is then winning the fight and use all their flashes, then the next fight will, then the other team is trying to do the same to them. And it's constant back and forth. Of course, the Baron play could have been cleaner from Splyce's side, but it's one of those small moments where it's up to one guy, he gets stunned. Trash in this case, he dies, and then suddenly it doesn't go in Splyce's favor. And it's just very back and forth. It's down to who can keep, making the correct calls in the heat of the moment with all this information in your mind of like which summoners are ready, which abilities are ready, whenever you're looking to start a fight.
And we're starting to get into those closer to full items, not 100% across the board, but like 3, 4 on a lot of the carries. That's a lot of damage, a lot of burst, and we've seen how close it's been with just not having all of those. One tick of damage could be the difference maker. Quickly, you're down to half health.
And Nuclear actually delayed some of his late game damage by going for GA to try and stay alive. If there's an all-in,
they pulled Shay, and he's gonna get melted through. That Senkuk starting it off with one quick pick. Senkuk's holding on as Ottawamne with the Meganar nearly completes. Has to scurry away. Right back into the fight he goes. Meganar comes up. Boomerang Blade looks like Mickey X is the one they're targeting. Wonder he just can't get in this fight. Or can he? Now he wants to go back in. Trashy gets a hop onto Jankos, keeps him locked up for the time being. 1-for-1 trade.
Wonder tried to recall so he could TP back into the fight. Did interrupt it though, and Trashy got engaged on here by Jankos and the rest of H2k, and they secure a 1-for-1 so far. Ottawamne's Meganar is obviously gone, but full HP in both carries. Same actually for Splyce on their side.
Dragon teleport coming in now. Wonder as he had back the way he's going to spend that to just try and take a fight. They don't really want to contest this Dragon without a smite. They don't really need to do it. Anyways, Ottawamne locked up on the side. Senkuk's low.
Wonder is still coming in with flash and ulti. He needs to get in the fight.
Let's see if they can do it. Here he goes, and that is a lot of damage. Not enough to finish anyone off. Dragon falls in all the chaos, but Kavi chasing them down inside the pit. That's one, that's two. And Splyce, they come up with the fight. Do lose a little bit off the backside, though. Mickey X was the first casualty. Let's see if they can pick up Febiven. Nowhere for him to go trying to lead these minions all the way through. Still dangerous, cornered. If Syndra gets a pick off, that's going to be hashtag worth.
This could be like one of the biggest outplays.
Yeah, but wait for the Jarvan. Just wait for the Jarvan. Auto teleport.
Trash is on the way, he's trying to ruin it. Oh, he's going to
chase in! Oh my goodness, you gotta turn it around! He gives his life. Febiven falling, but he did his job. And now Odo's tagged his way in looking for Trashy. Senkuk's waiting in the wings, flash forward by the Gnar. The action simply does not stop. Chase here for the backup. Trashy is gonna fall. You gotta be kidding me, man.
Man, the individual outplays we're seeing in this game, fantastic. Febiven landed that stun into a double kill, and they're getting more.
Looking for Senkuk's, the box is down, but Ottawamne, he might be thinking right outside of it. Flash was what Senkuk's used to get out of that one, and the hook, it's not gonna land. How many engages have we had this game, Deficio?
I don't know, 1 million so far, at least in this series. Baron is alive, but we want to get a replay of the fight we saw just before here. Wonder TP'd in, flash, protobell, ulti, everything was ready, but he appeared so far away from the actual fight that he needed to see his support die first, but then he joins in, pops the GA, gets a bit of damage on Febiven. Baron, by the way, is being taken by H2k. They're going to secure it because Trash is still dead. And now we get the big one. Staying alive, forces Senkuk's away. Wonder also needs to respect the damage. TP comes in, lands one stun. Goes on another one, and then Che joins. Look at the stun landing here on 2, into another combo. That's kills for Febiven, and sadly for him, he needs to die just on the way out.
I mean, he lasted so long off the back of a lost fight. You can't just dive a Syndra that has that much damage to dish on you, and Che comes in, sets up the crazy play. Then they get even more off the back of this. Senkuk's would have gone down if he hadn't flashed. And H2k, this is starting to be the lead. They have Baron buff. It's nowhere near safe at this point.
No.
But they've won the last couple of objective trades.
It's true. They're getting further ahead without having won the game just
Still
yet.
momentum. This is an H2k thing. They're 2 games up. They have a gold lead. They haven't made any serious mistakes that they haven't been able to recover from.
You know what else is an H2k thing, especially from the regular season, is Febiven doing really well. Game 1 and 2, his job was to stay alive, don't die in the early game. He's not going to get any help. Game 3 on the Syndra, they played more around him. He's been fantastic in so many fights. And again, this is what we want to see, the superstar performances in a gauntlet where you need to win every single best of 5 you're playing if you want to make worlds. And Febiven and Jankos, those 2 guys, they've been performing at a very high level in the series.
Yeah. We did ask the question, we needed to see H2k step up a little bit. There were some playoff woes. 160 seemed to be a history of that for H2k. And, and you can't really pin it on individual players other than just not standing out to the level that we expect from them in the regular season.
And if this game, ends in an H2k win, and it's a 3-0 H2k, I really hope people will still go in and actually re-watch it, because This was not a, oh my god, H2k is stomping Splyce, what a boring series. Like, it's been so close in every single game that it almost feels horrible to see a 3-0 just because we've had so many back and forth fights.
At no point has really it felt unwinnable by either team until the Nexus falls. It's really crazy.
But we are still seeing H2k being that one step ahead of Splyce, and that's why they're 2-0. That's why they're about to kill this turret and maybe win this game.
We'll look for Wonder. This might be the final fight. However, they're holding strong. The minions have run out. H2k got to back away for now, or do they know they have one more in the back, and they're going to be able to finish off that tower. 7 for them this game, but Wonder, he's back off the fountain. Let's see if they can turn this fighter on Odoamne. He's here as well.
Oh, they need Wonder's flash fast to be ready here if he's ever going to get onto Fabian Nuclear in the fights.
No teleport for him either just yet.
Jankos and Odoamne as well in these team fights here, they're actually looking at the cannon a lot. And they're not just like ignoring him and running past him to get to the carries, because they know they're just going to die then to the Sivir, to the Corki. So they're always trying to like look where Wonder is and see if they can knock him away or peel. And then after the cannon ulti is gone, they can turn the fight around.
Just trying to push too far, or push forward without pushing too far, because Odoamne now with him, he's in the mid, dragging Splyce around. See if they can close this one out, taking the objectives, not needing to fight here as they have the pressure on their side. Trashy's going low, Nuclear in the front line. On the hunt is Papa Che. He's going to try to stem this onslaught. Goes right back in to try and protect his carry, but pulled in the box. It's Nuclear hopping out. He's exhausted, and now the rest of the team says, that's okay, we got your back. We'll tag right in. And it looks like Splyce are running out of steam here. The inhibitor is going to fall. Minions charging on all lanes. H2k, this looks like the end game for them. We're nigh on 40 minutes. It has been so close.
Wonder's coming from behind here. Actually just canceled it because Fabian walked out to where he was TPing. Flash is ready.
Desperate fight, Trashy. He's a little low.
Wonder, he needs to do it, man.
Let's see if Wonder can make that play. No teleport, but he's got to be able to find the miraculous fight. Knocked back by Nuclear. And now the tour of the base is nearly complete. H2k find 1, 2, 3 inhibitors and Mickey X to cap it all off. And they know they don't need to push their luck just yet. They have a massive lead.
Elder Drake spawning as well. Splyce will be busy dealing with all the super minions. They tried to flash and get engaged onto Nuclear. Just flash, flay, hook him right after. But Chase interrupt here with his own engage. Actually saved his AD carry. H2k didn't get to re-engage after everything had already been used by Splyce. Wonder had to cancel that TP. He was always looking to actually move in behind H2k. And Splyce hovering around Elder Drake. They know there's going to be super minions in their base. Trying to see if maybe they can force one last team fight. Wonder's flank needs to be perfect. They're doing it right. They're starting it.
There we go. Elder Drake, but that's a big objective to try and tank. Here comes Odoamne around the side. This feels like desperation. There's a 2-man charm, and H2k move into action, melting through Wonder's health bar. Nothing for the Splyce boys to do, and that Gatorade looks to be a celebration for H2k as they keep moving forward. Trashy, he can't do a damn thing. Oh no, and Senkux, yeah, there's nowhere for you to go, buddy. Nard into the wall. It is all on Kobbe to try and hold, but I don't think that's possible.
No, there's so many super minions. 5 members alive as well on the side of H2k, and they're going straight for that Nexus.
Oh my goodness, Kobbe, one last desperation charge, and H2k just say, stay back on the fountain.
He's baiting them into the
fountain.
fountain.
Need to do it. It's going to be the cleanup, and the super minions will be able to do the rest. That is the ace. And H2k, they had some skeletons in their post-game closet, but they are pulling out the big sweep to clean it all up. Moving on to face UOL tomorrow.
And suddenly looking like such a scary team here in the gauntlet. So many questions from the semi-final, the 3rd place game. 2 of the games today, they didn't even play around the mid lane. They played around bot lane, they played around top lane. It was successful. Game 3, they picked the Syndra. Fabian, fantastic performance obviously on it. Massive carry.
Everyone did not only their job, but stepped up in the clutch. I mean, we saw so many incredible Rakan combos in this entire series, but it was that one at the end with Che stopping the Sivir push that really sealed that deal.
There were so many big plays in this series, despite it only being 3 games, which is actually quite impressive. And so many fights could have gone both ways, but we just saw H2k for once in a best-of series just being a step above whoever they're actually facing. Because very often when you keep having these very close encounters, well, it was H2k getting that 1 extra kill, getting that Baron. So
that adds up over time.
It does, it adds up, and they kept getting a little bit more gold, and then eventually they were strong enough to just win the last few team fights. And man,
Yeah.
this was actually,
So
despite a
incredible.
3-0, a series that just really delivered in terms of entertainment and also some really good plays,
And any game could have gone any direction. I mean, that was the closest 3-0 I think we've seen in a long time.
which is also why now I'm just like, I'm already looking forward to tomorrow. I'm just like, ooh, Unicorns I love, they've been hiding for 3 weeks. What have they been preparing? What have they been practicing?
We saw some interesting picks today. I wonder if the Unicorns are going to follow suit.
I mean, maybe, who knows? And now they're looking at this H2k team with a ton of confidence all of a sudden after 3-0ing Splyce in this first game here. And that's going to be another big one that could also be super, super close and super back and forth. But H2k, they look scary, man.
They
look
do.
scary.
They do. I mean, and again, it's not like they were able to just crush the opposition. I mean, it's got to feel so bad for Splyce that they couldn't take a game because every single moment it seemed like they could turn it around.
Yeah, you're going to VOD review that
That's
one,
rough,
and you're going to
man.
be like, this moment, here we actually won the game, then this happened. And that's a tough one, but that doesn't matter because H2k 3-0 played better in the end and deserved to win.
And they did indeed. Now, H2K, they're staying in the race for Worlds with that victory, so let's hand it over to the analyst desk to wrap up the series.
Thank you very much, Pyra and Official. Obviously, we are going to talk to some of the winning side in just a bit. I do want to recap this game specifically and maybe look over the entire series because it was very convincing from H2K. I feel like this one might have been the closest one because it wasn't one big lead after the other. It was just close overall, and H2K just getting those little steps to victory.
Little steps that all revolved around the bottom lane at first. I mean, this game, everything went bot lane to start things off, but we jump way further on in the game here towards the first Baron fight. And these were the fights that were just back and forth all the time, and so much of it depended on whether Wonder on this cannon could actually get a flank. And most of the time, no, he couldn't.
I really feel like Kennen in the current meta, it's very hard to place. The lane into Gnar is not something that you super hard win, especially when you itemize AP. I think against the Syndra, Tristana, it's so hard to imagine yourself getting in from a good position. And on top of that, the itemization is so difficult. You need Hourglass, you need Proto Belt, you need all these fancy things that you won't get in a game that is realistically decided at 20 minutes.
Yeah, good point. Yamato, you were also pointing out, we were saying, oh, Syndra is very strong, Fevin's playing a great game, but you said, well, both mid laners are having a great showing this series and this game specifically, yet Fevin came out on top in the end.
I think performance-wise, Febiven showed up big time. I feel like in playoffs he was quite underwhelming from what I saw. I remember the idea with how Febiven performed in the regular split. I think this was more reminiscent of that. And on top of that, I think Senkooks, when it matters the most, I think he performs very well. I think we saw that against G2, he was performing very, very well. And on top of that, like my greatest memory of Senkooks performing when it matters the most is at World. He was playing against Crown and showed up big time in these big matches. And I think he deserves some props for this match as well.
Yeah, the Corki looked very good, especially in Game 3. I think to look at Febiven a little bit more, I think good series overall from him. Didn't quite have as much attention as we're used to him having, perhaps. A lot of the time Jankos has spent around that mid lane in the regular split. Now, I want to see what happens without jumping too far forward to tomorrow, because Exile, we have no idea where the read is on him. And if Febiven comes in like this today, that's a very scary H2K going up against the Unicorns.
That it is. We'll talk more about the specific matchup later, but aside from that, the fact that H2K has played a lot of matches now they come in and they have, yes, an intense, but still a 3-0 victory with in the back of their minds. They still might have to play 2 best-of-5s back-to-back. This is kind of the perfect start for them.
I think when it comes to H2K, like, sure, they give up these early game leads. I think that's a big red alarm. I think also Nuclear tending to fall behind on CS is also a big alarm, but you have to resort to kind of band-aid solutions. I think H2K have adapted very well in draft, putting Odoamne on the right champions and Nuclear on comfort. And I think this is as far as kind of short-term improvement as you can go when it comes to a team like H2K.
And one other piece of the puzzle that clicked today, Jankos, he was on the right kind of champions. He also was in a lot of activity early on in the game. The Sejuani was always hitting Vel'Koz in game 1. Like, he was a man possessed through the most of this series because he generally was on top of his game, and we can't say that about Jankos in every single playoff series.
It's true. That also gave him the player of the series for this series, and you say it, Sejuani, great performance in games 1 and 2, and then he gets it banned away, and that's not often we see that happening, but he still performed on the Gragas in game 3. And well, even when they weren't as good in the early game, Jankos was still there. It was just that the rest didn't really work out as well in the team fights. But this guy, is he tilt-proof now, Yamato?
I would say so. I think even in the series against Fnatic, he played very, very well. I think Jankos, he's made the name for himself for being this Elise Leeson player. But even in this meta that I would say is very favored towards a player like Trashy that prefers to play the Gragas and Sejuani, he still performs as arguably one of the best junglers in Europe, if not the best one currently.
Fantastic performance by him, and H2k, they took down Splyce with a 3-0 sweep. Let's head over to Pyra for a word with their jungler. There we go, perfect.
Thank you very much, Shox. Yeah, standing by here. So, Jankos, I mean, that was such an incredibly close 3-0. It was action-packed every minute of the way. Did you expect, after game one even, that you could close that out in 3 with how close Splyce were playing you?
I think that in every game, we are just trying our best, and it doesn't really matter how many games does it go to. Against Fnatic last week, it went to 5th game, and, it's a lot of pressure on you, but I think as long as we just kind of go on stage and want to show what we improved or what we were working on, I think, we'll just show what we have. And then if it's not enough, then opponents were better, but we will see if it's enough or not.
Very gracious response, too, for the Splyce boys. Now, one of the things it seemed like you guys really improved on, especially from the playoff performance you had, was being able to make those calls from behind and actually execute them, playing team fights out when you guys didn't necessarily have the leads. Is that something you really focused on leading up to the match?
I honestly believe that sometimes in the games against the better teams, we lack confidence, and that made us look really weak. And I'm not saying it's fixed. I'm just saying that we are aware of the issue. And, we will try to show our best tomorrow and day after if we even make it through tomorrow.
Seems like you're not 100% sure on that one. Does this 3-0 not give you guys a little bit extra confidence from what you had before?
No, I mean, it's more like I don't want to be cocky and say that we will win, but I'm confident that we'll pound them, kind of.
All right, I'll take it at the very least. Well, maybe the Unicorns better watch their backs. Do you think they're going to pull out any of the more interesting kind of stuff you saw against Splyce Day, like the Vel'Koz?
I honestly believe that Unicorns right now are a very strong team. I think no one spoke about them before the Gauntlet, and I think they're looking really strong in scrims against us. And to be honestly, we were shaking in scrims lately. I'm shaking as of we didn't have a lot of good results. Pretty much not a lot of good results. But as long as you, try, on stage and you just saw what you worked on and you're just, trying your best. And even if it doesn't work in scrims, it doesn't matter, because for some teams it does work in scrims and it doesn't matter on stage. So I'm happy with our performance today, to be honest with you. And I'm happy how we played. And I think we have a potential, but there is still some things that we need to look on. And on top of it, we shouldn't disrespect anyone, especially Unicorns right now. So.
Well, we'll see how it all goes tomorrow. I mean, it sounds like you guys are definitely working your way forward. Thank you so much, Jankos, and congratulations. Good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you very much, mate.
All right, back to Shox and Co.
Thanks, mateys. Great interview over there. I want to say that in the last weeks of the split leading up to playoffs and now in this interview as well, Jankos seems calmer to me. Like, he seems a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious, but it wasn't as crazy. But that might also be just a conscious decision. Let's just try and take it as easy as possible to do the things we need to do.
I think that's interesting because you look at a year ago, maybe he was one of the more outspoken players here in Europe, and he's kind of had that edge taken off him, which is a good thing if he can maintain a good mentality throughout the game, right? And the Gauntlet is a test of strength. It's 3 best-of-5s back-to-back. I'm much happier to see a Jankos that is reserved rather than a Jankos that's like, I'm going to smash them next tomorrow, and then the 3rd day, and we're going to Worlds 100%.
That's kind of cool, too. But
it is cool, but I think seeing at least some kind of calm composure is at least reassuring to H2k going into tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's been a lot of dank memes with H2k in playoffs. I think, everyone knows how H2k chokes in playoffs. They don't adapt in playoffs. I think H2k also knows this. And coming into this playoffs, I feel like we've seen a massive difference. I think there's been adaptation, and I don't think besides that 3-0 that there's been any tilt besides that.
Well, and you also have to see how G2 ended up playing in the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah.
You can give them kind of an excuse for that. And yeah, Dank meme-wise, there probably is a quota. They have H2 what? So they're saying, okay, we need 1, 2, 3, 5 for a week of you guys. But just kidding. Fantastically composed Jankos, and they'll have to be composed. They have a lot of work to do because after their win tonight, H2k are ready for at least one more series. They're going to face off against the Unicorns of Love tomorrow. Stress, you started to touch on it already. While if H2k came into this match with a 0-8 or an 8-0 rather record over Splyce, they now have an 3-8 record against Unicorns of Love and haven't managed to beat them in a series. So,
but there is one thing we saw today out of H2k that if they can do against Unicorns would be a bit of a fix towards what the Unicorns have done well, and that is the fighting around mid in a reactive way and actually being good around that. Like, they took a few fights against Splyce where perhaps Splyce even should have won, but H2k looked clean. And if they can do that against the Unicorns, that neutralizes a lot of the difficulty that H2k have had when playing up against Unicorns of Love.
I think the main thing that you need to have when you play against Unicorns of Love is something that Jankos touched on, is decisiveness. And I think today the thing that won them the games was the decisiveness. I remember that Dragon fight when Renekton just TP'd in and everyone just committed to the same thing. I think that's something that has been very lacking for H2k. And I think if you bring that into a match against Unicorns of Love and you just commit to one thing, you're all on the same page, then you're not going to get picked off one by one, which usually happens against a chaotic, crazy team as Unicorns of Love.
that's true. Well, we talk a lot from H2k's perspective. Stress, I heard you talking in the beginning of the show about MVP Vizicachi, Spring MVP. We'd want to see that again. About Exile, what is the ultimate key to victory here for Unicorns of Love tomorrow?
I think it has to be an Exile that isn't a sore point for Featherman and Jankos. If Featherman and Jankos go mid, get Exile on a champion that when there's no flash, there's no hope, suddenly Exile is going to be without a lot of his strength, and we've seen that happen a lot of times. 3 weeks has to have been enough time for the Unicorns to fix that. That's what I need to see.
Yeah, there's some mystery because we haven't seen them. Yamato, you're not with us tomorrow, but you'll be joining us again for the deciding match on Sunday. Who's playing Fnatic there?
Oh, it's so crazy, because like, if you look at it, it's like a circle of kryptonite, Splyce, they get beaten by H2k. H2k have problems against Unicorns of Love, and then Fnatic just denied them in the finals, like always, And that might be the case, but I think Unicorns of Love, there's so many question marks. There's always been a problem with Exile. I remember even back in the last season where Exile just played 3 champions, which was Kassadin, Ryze, and Vladimir. And when teams saw through that, it was very easy to cut in half. But now with all this time, it's just a question, what is Exile's champion pool? He doesn't really favor the Syndra, doesn't favor the Orianna. I can't imagine him playing the Cassiopeia either, but maybe just busts out with something new completely. We never know. And I think the point about Vizicachi and I think also Hylissang falls into this basket. They've been very inconsistent throughout the split. And I think this has been a major issue for them because I think even though Exile has been the focus point because he's the one dying and with the bad stats and playing the Talon, I think the rest of the Unicorns of Love have also underperformed heavily besides Samox. And I think he's the guy to look out for when it comes to Unicorns of Love.
The shining light at the end. We'll see if it is enough for the Unicorns tomorrow and what they have in store for us. It's time for us to log off for the night. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys for joining me on the desk. And tomorrow we will be back with H2k versus the Unicorns of Love. See you then.
It is the regional qualifier. It is the last chance for Worlds. It's a long ladder to climb, but it all starts right now. And Oda Wamne gets the blast going express over the wall. Trashy following through. Blue Buffs in the fight as well. And they're still going. They already got their burger. They're looking for a side of bacon. Yanko's trying to dash away.
There's no way they can do anything.
H2k shrug off the Gnar, just like they shrug off the rest of Splyce, and they will lock this one up, put a bow on game number 1, and forget about the playoffs, because this is the gauntlet, and H2k say we want to go to Worlds. Oh, the charm is on, the quick step of an insta-cleanse, and Senduk's not quite in the range, but they have the damage to finish him off anyways. Now Nuclear on the other side, but here comes the hero's entrance. Is it going to be enough? I don't think so.
European aggression, baby.
Tower still standing inside the base, and a massive combo. Let's see if they've got the damage. Bobby trying to dish it out. What a huge knockup, but Featherman in the back line, pumping out that damage. Machine gun Cassiopeia, but Wonder finds 2 kills. The front line is melting. Senkuk's on the front. It's going to be a double to Oda Wamne. This is total and utter bloodbath. They're gonna take the Nexus. Game 2 for H2k. Oh man, they're throwing everything down there. Flashes and dashes. Can they get Nuclear? Trashy hops on and puts him in the pit. He doesn't have the last auto attack. With the exhaust coming down, they might settle for Jay, but Jankos turns around, and he's gonna be the first to fall. from Febvin. No unleashed power available for him. It looks like finally they'll get it. Odoame steps forward. Is he fighting it too far forward? It's going to be the Tristana locked up. There's the Wonder ultimate we were looking for. Do they have the damage to follow through? Wonder is even going to make it out alive. This one's still tense. Here comes Odoame. She looks outside the back. Odoame up the back. Can they get it? No, the fight is going to end before it all happens. Jankos gets the spine away, but there's no one but Nuclear to hold on. But wait for the Jarvan. Just wait for the Jarvan. Shadow teleport.
Trash is on the way, he's trying to run. Oh, he's trying to go.
He's in. Oh my goodness, you're gonna turn it around. He gives his life. Febvin falling, but he did his job. Oh my goodness. Kami, one last desperation charge, and H2k to say stay back on the mountain.
He's baiting them into the mountain.
It's going to be the cleanup, and the super minions will be able to do the rest. That is the ace. And H2k, they had some skeletons in their post-game closet, but they are pulling out the big sweep to clean it all up. Moving on to face UOL tomorrow.